How's it going, everybody? In this video, I want to talk about Monster Hunter Wilds new details as far as a returning monster from a previous game, as well as how the devs select, what monsters be in their games and how they're trying to tackle the PC requirements as far as trying to lower them for the recommended so that more players that, don't have the high end and top notch or top tier type PCs can still play this game on PC with no issues. So let's kick things off with Gravios returning. This is an IGN first. IGN's been doing a lot of these IGN first for Monster Hunter Wilds, and this monster makes a comeback from Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. Yeah, we last saw Gravios in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. So if you don't know about this monster, Gravios is a hard-shelled monster that's been deflecting players' attacks since the original Monster Hunter, and it's back in Monster Hunter Wilds in the Oil Well Basin. Gravios is the sixth returning monster revealed from Monster Hunter Wilds after Kongalala, Yinkutku, Gypsaros, and Quintessential Raphalos and Rathian. When it comes to Gravios, though, the Monster Hunter Wilds director, Yuya Tokuda, says, when we're thinking about a monster that would fit the Oil Well Basin environment and would not overlap in gameplay terms when looking at the overall ecosystem hierarchy, we realized we could reintroduce Gravios in a way that felt fresh to play. So we decided to bring him back this time. Historically, Gravios appears in volcanic areas in the Monster Hunter series, and the Oil Well Basin fits that trope. And the devs talk about how, of course, the details, textures, and other aspects of Gravios' design have been greatly improved compared with previous titles. While we maintain the hardness of its outer shell, we also had the team work hard on things like the depiction of the impact of Gravios' laser-like attack when it hits the ground. And the devs say it's been difficult to do up until now, as far as like making this happen, implementing it, making it feel good in the game. The monster now feels like it is actually there in that terrain. The devs were able to express how the actions of the monster have a reaction on the terrain, and they worked very carefully on those elements. In the past, the devs had technical issues, with trying to get this monster right. Some other monsters right too. So now with the technical advancements, they're able to finally bring some of these monsters back and have them look and feel right at home in these newer Monster Hunter games, especially Wilds here. And I'm all for it. Like, bring back older monsters from previous games as well as introduce new ones. Personally, I want Devil Joe to come back. Please make Devil Joe come back in Wilds. And some people argue, are the hunters the main characters in the Monster Hunter games, or is it the monsters? And some people feel like it's all about the monsters. Some will say it's all about the hunters. So many striking creatures have appeared over the course of the Monster Hunter's 20+ year history. And with each new hunter and each new hunt, we form new memories around these monsters. So you're wondering probably like, how do devs even select monsters for these games anyway? So let's talk about that. IGN has an article going over this. Tokuda first explains the process that goes into the creation of a Monster Hunter monster. He says that we first consider what we want players to experience when facing major monsters like Arkveld, as well as the setting, ecosystem, and so on of the world, unique to each title. We then think about the kind of monsters needed to do that. In a way, we start by puzzling pieces together, like if this monster exists in this place, how does the ecological pyramid work here? It's easy to simply think now that players will be happy so long as popular monsters make a reappearance, but the development team actually focuses most on the player's experience. Tokuda goes on to say we don't focus too much on the proportion or number of new versus old monsters. What's important at the end of the day is the overall level design and the order of monsters across the entire game, as well as the balance of the ecological pyramids in each area. We take this multifaceted approach to decide which monsters to include. How will players play the game, and when will they encounter each monster? What will we see monsters doing in this latest title enabled by new technology? Even when choosing to have older monsters make a reappearance, this all is different factors that go into decision making. So even when selecting old monsters to put in the game, part of that involves making sure to stay true to that monster's concept while looking about how much room each monster has to grow when they were born, using current day technology and game design. Tokuda then says, herds are one of the major concepts in Wilds, and so we created Doshoguma as a monster that lets players experience this element of the game. We were designing Doshoguma from a pretty early stage, in part to help verify the way that packs move. I think part of a monster's character can be an appearance that simply makes you think that it looks cool, even among all the other unique monsters. We call these our handsome monsters. We believe that if we're able to have one of these cool monsters appear at just the right time, they'll stand out that much more as a unique character. We thought that Ray Dow was in a good position for that even during the design stage. And so we wanted it to be a cool monster. As Ray Dow's design was finalized for Arc Vaults, even some of our own staff thought it was the game's main monster until partway through development. That's just how handsome it is. However, once Arkvild's design was finalized, the whole team was satisfied they had found their flagship monster. Yeah, originally I thought the monster we found out being called Ray Dow was going to be the flagship monster, but no, that's not the case. And the devs also have to factor in and, allow players to understand and realize that Monster Hunter is a real-time synchronous multiplayer game. The feeling of playing together and being able to communicate on the same wavelength with shared information is extremely important to us. Our top priority during development is how we express the experience of people playing in the same space. I'm overwhelmed for a moment when I hear this. Yes, this may of course be what multiplayer game development theory states, but the hurdles presented to this team by what they're attempting to depict are far greater than players imagine. And that's just reality. We as like the outside people looking in, like us consumers and gamers that don't really know how all the ins and outs of game development work, we can speculate, we can complain and this and that about like, why can't you do this? And like, the reality is game development is very, very challenging. It is a miracle, honestly, that we get so many games, whoever the dev is, so many games out every year or every week or every month, because games are not easy to make. And that doesn't matter if you're an indie dev or AAA. The devs say this as well. When we have monsters appear, we're always conscious of not just trying to make them easy to understand for players new to Monster Hunter, but to also shock and delight fans of the series. Recalling the reaction fans had when they announced Kongagala's return, I think tossing Kongagala out right there was just right for it. We announced it at Tokyo Game Show because we thought fans who know about Kongagala would enjoy that. Once we did, the reaction ended up being even bigger than we imagined. We talked later about how that must have been the greatest moment of Kongala's life. So when it all comes down to it, when depicting monsters for these games, it means depicting the world of Monster Hunter. Contemplating the role of a monster means creating the experience hunters will have. Monsters are present at every point of the gameplay loop, and the Capcom dev team for Monster Hunter truly cares about them. So it won't be much longer until we're reunited with some of these old favorites that are coming back, as well as some new monsters in here, and we still don't even know the full monsters in Wilds yet. And on some more positive news, the Capcom devs of Monster Hunter are trying to make the PC requirements not so taxing on players. Capcom is also exploring the possibility of releasing a standalone PC benchmarking tool as well. As of right now, Capcom recommends an NVIDIA GTX 1660 Super or an AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT for 30 FPS at 1080p. This minimum requirement is also detailed as requiring an internet resolution of 720p. This minimum requirement is also detailed as requiring an internal resolution of 720p and upscaling the graphics using DLSS or FSR using the lowest graphics setting. Monster Hunter Wilds recommended settings also target 1080p and 60 FPS with upscaling and frame generation technologies enabled, using the examples of RTX 2070 Super, RTX 4060, or AMD RX 6700 XT. Out of the three, only the RX 4060 supports NVIDIA frame generation, with 2070 Super and 6700 XT instead having to rely on FSR3. Targeting 60 FPS with frame duration enabled isn't the ideal use of the technology, with Digital Foundry recommending a baseline of 40 FPS in third-person titles. If a game runs under 60 FPS with upscaling enabled, it may result in a much less responsive or tactile feeling due to latency. During Monster Hunter Wilds' open beta test that happened a few months ago, PC players with lower-end hardware struggled, even with mid-range graphics cards like the RTX 3060. In particular, players experienced a low LOD bug where the game did not load the fully detailed textures of characters or monsters. Monster Hunter Wilds is built on the RE engine, which first debuted in 2017's Resident Evil 7. The engine was used in games like Devil May Cry 5, Monster Hunter Rise, and Street Fighter 6, with select performance across all platforms. But as we saw with Dragon's Dogma 2, which also used the RE engine, open world titles, seem to be a big problem for the RE engine, and Capcom's still trying to fix things, adjust it accordingly, and make it better overall for their games. So it is a bit concerning as far as when it comes to PC players, as far as if you have a mid-range PC or lower end or things like that, that it's not going to perform well. But they are working hard to get this to work for everyone. And Dragon's Dogma 2, being used as an example here, it suffered performance issues and woes both on PC and console, which made me initially concerned for Monster Hunter Wilds. And we got a second open beta coming, guys, that Capcom has confirmed the improvements and all the performance adjustments and things like that that's supposed to be in the full game will not be in this second beta. The second beta is going to be the same as the first one. The only difference is you get a new hunt to do. So Capcom's claim of attempting to reduce GPU requirements could be key for the title's success on PC, and I hope that they can get this sorted out. February 28th is coming up pretty fast, guys. We don't got much longer to wait, so we'll see what happens. But that's all I got for you in this video. Hope you enjoyed this. What do you think about some of these monsters that are coming back, as well as these new monsters they're bringing in, as well, and how they decide on what monsters go in the game, because they go based on trying to provide a great player experience overall with the world stage and monsters, etc. there. And hopefully the PC woes will be alleviated with this. Hopefully you guys have good PCs to run this game. I'm looking forward to playing this on PC myself. What are your thoughts on the PC requirements that they're trying to do and aim for when it comes to minimum versus recommended? Sound off in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like, subscribe if you're new. My name is Mike, and I'll see you in the next video.